Yeah, let's get this started right here. Gators Breakdown Plus. Everybody, thanks for hopping in. Holiday short notice here. Little good little crowd. Thanks for hopping in once again. I know short notice. We usually do this on a Thursday evening lately, but had the little family night out. So, but thankfully able to come at you on this Friday. Hey, it timed out pretty good anyway. We got a lot to talk about. Of course, a couple days after signing day, that's still kind of on the forefront of everybody's mind. But Jalen Kimber hit the transfer portal right before we go live here. Of course, the hire of Chatman at defensive lineman coach there, replacing Sean Spencer. Jay Bateman going to Texas A&M. What's next for Florida at linebacker coach? And we can get into some more class of 2024 talk. But, man, there's a lot to get into.
Yeah, there definitely is.
Where do you want to start?
Let's start with Kimber, since that was as I said, first thing, or not first thing, the most recent news that we had. Sorry, I've been dealing with a little bit of sniffles. This cold weather is getting the best of me.
Only got one thing to say about Kimber, Dave.
I think the mic got a little bit too loud there. It was probably it kind of muted you there, but I think that was probably some excitement, if I'm not mistaken.
I mean, I know most people are glad to see he's gone, but we need a cornerback.
Yeah, I wouldn't,
especially with Moore not being healthy. I mean, he hasn't been able to stay on the field.
There you go.
Unless these young guys are ready to step up, he wasn't the best, but at least he was the body out there.
Yeah, I think what we're probably going to see here. I'm still assuming Jason Marshall comes back, and that still leaves you with Marshall and Kimber. I thought Marshall was playing better toward the end of the year than what he was playing. I mean, at times it was bad play by him and Kimber, and that added to all the defensive woes Florida had. I did think Marshall got better as the season went on, and we'll see if anything with all these coaching changes on the defensive side of the ball changes, his mind or whatever. I'm leaning toward him coming back from everything I can gather. But then, that does put Kimber on the way out. And yeah, I think it's him and Moore if Moore can stay healthy, but we already know that's been an issue in 2 seasons now. So, what goes on there? But I think transfer portal is an option here. I think you can attack the transfer portal here for a cornerback, but also, Jakeem Jackson, Dijon Johnson, of course, I think are 2 names that we didn't see a whole lot of this past year. But those are the 2 names I think if you start looking at guys who were part of this last recruiting class. But if I'm Florida, I'm looking for the transfer portal here to bring in another cornerback. But I mean, Kimber was such a liability, guys, and we knew it. And early part of the season, we didn't really get the full glimpse of it till the Kentucky game. Florida goes on the road to Lexington and just lays an egg. And a lot of that to do with not being able to stop Ray Davis, Jalen Kimber early on in that game, part of that. And then once we saw it in that game, it just seemed like, all right, there's a spotlight on him. I think the opposing offenses certainly knew that they could attack Florida's defensive backs by, going right at them. And Kimber was part of that, just looking like he wanted no part of any physicality, wanting to bring down an opposing offensive player.
Yeah.
Dave, I had to step away for a second. Did you say that Jaden Hill would be coming back?
That was the name. That was the name I was about to bring up. Him being the nickel spot. We were talking outside corners here, but for Hill, I can't get a clear answer right now. And I admittedly, I haven't dug deep. I know there's some talk of him leaving. I think if he's leaving, and look, if NFL is the option, it's probably to. His draft stock's not probably going to be outstanding. I think we kind of know that. But also at the same time, how much can he raise it next year? I think maybe a little bit. But with as much injury as he has dealt with, is it best for him to go ahead and go take his shot, go ahead and take his chance? While, maybe injury is not as much in question, especially since he's coming off of playing a full season, but he's had some injury history. So I don't know if it's been decided. I don't know if there's some waffling. I don't know if it's been fully decided as we sit right here, a few days before Christmas. But I think lately the talk that I've heard is probably leaving, but I can't get a clear answer. I'm not going to go one way or the other there.
Who played the nickel more whenever he would come out? Was it Jackson or Denson?
Denson, especially toward the end, especially toward the end of the season, and I like what I saw from Sharif Denson.
Right.
So
Yeah.
And I mean, Denson was So I mean, if Hill does roll, I mean, man, you just talk about just a lack of body still, man. I mean, you got 5 guys, maybe, and 2 of them are unproven, redshirt freshmen. If Hill does leave and Kimber leaving and just haven't recruited that position as far as very, very highly and kept the numbers up.
yeah, I think. I mean, if we look at it now, I think we can go. If Florida was to start, spring camp today, knowing kind of what we know, is it just say Hill is gone? Is your defensive backfield for corners and nickel? Is it Marshall, Moore, and Denson? That's your cornerbacks and nickel.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah, that's very. You just got to pray to God nobody gets hurt. Like every position.
I mean, the 2 freshmen, you kind of feel like if they were ready to make that next step, we would have seen them more on the field during the season because we saw a lot of freshmen play. I mean, I know Jackson got out there some.
And I think he can be good, yeah. Maybe.
And maybe the new coach will kind of bring that out and scheme fit and everything else. Maybe it just works out better. I mean, because we need those freshmen. They were highly recruited. I mean, we need them to step up and play like the high 4 stars they were.
But I mentioned, spring practice will start now. That's not, of course. Like I said, now we don't know. Like I said, I think Florida probably should hit the portal here and see if they can get another corner here to throw into the mix. I think you'd like to have an instant. I think you'd like to have an instant impact guy, but I don't know. I don't quite know if that's necessary. I mean, I think you bring in the best if you can. No doubt about it. Don't get me wrong. But when Moore there. Look, and I just talked about Jaden Hill and his injury history, but he just played a full season. Maybe Moore gets that same. I don't know if luck is the right word, but maybe it is. But maybe he gets the same fortune of being able to play a full season healthy, just like Hill's coming off of. There was an injury history. The question: can he stay healthy? Can he play a lot of games? He did. I thought Hill showed improvement this past year. I think Moore is just for him, not necessarily showing improvement. Of course, everybody can improve, but it's just staying on the field, man.
Yeah, I mean, I think Moore's probably our best corner if he stays healthy. If he's 100% on the field. I mean, I kind of felt like he played better than Marshall last year.
And I like when he came back from the injury late in the season. I thought he showed some nice things.
Yeah. And our portal strategy, our previous portal strategy, doesn't make me think that we're going to go out and land some big time, starter. I don't know. We'll have to see.
Anything else? Be in the portal that we're seem to be flirting with.
That guy from San Diego State.
Yeah,
committed to UCLA.
He used to be, that guy.
Ratcliffe.
Yeah, Ratcliffe. There we go.
It's a safety. Is it safety or a cornerback?
See, that's what I was trying to get at too. Wasn't he more of a?
Because I mean, like, is Bridges gonna be like? And no disrespect to the guy, man. I mean, like, he came in, he tried, but like, is Tawaje or whatever Bridges? Is he gonna be like RJ Moten? Is that the same? He's on the team. We see him early, and then, I mean, he got pushed out at Oregon. Or do we think there's a higher upside? Not without, cut down either kid, but just from a outside fan standpoint, like, I mean, what can that guy bring? I mean, is he going to help that room?
I think it's a little bit different than Moten because he played corner the last couple of years at Oregon, and this is from everything he is saying himself, and from everything I can gather from Florida side, he's going to go to safety. So it's a little different. Like for Michigan and Moten, we could see. And look, I think he played worse at Florida than he ever did at Michigan. I don't think he showed this bad at Michigan. So that's kind of the weird part about it. I don't even think we thought when we were getting the base level of what he did at Michigan, that didn't translate whatsoever to Florida. So I do think just the change in position, it's kind of hard to judge. I think I like what I saw. He's attacking. He's not afraid of contact. So I think if he can shift that and transfer that to a safety mindset, I'm hopeful there.
The tackling part is what I like.
Yeah.
Didn't he play safety at first and then
I believe so.
got moved over to cornerback?
Yeah.
And his better years were when he played safety, like his numbers over there.
Well, 2 years ago now, his numbers weren't bad at corner. That was his best year. And then kind of,
I couldn't remember. I thought maybe there was at one time he played safety and then got moved to corner. I couldn't remember.
He started at a corner and then they moved him a little bit to play safety. And then last year, he actually did pretty decent at safety.
Okay.
yeah, didn't he move around a little bit last year? He wasn't strictly corner. He wasn't strictly safety last year.
Yes, sir, you would be correct.
I'll still talk about Bridges.
Yeah.
Okay. What I had heard was that there's some kind of coaching change, and then they went to a different type of style, and he got overlooked and shuffled around and all that. So that's kind of what happened. That's the way I took it.
Yeah, and he did say the familiar system from Lanning to Armstrong, hopefully, should help the transition as well.
Cool.
Well, to me, I feel like I was thinking the same thing as the other guy that was commenting about these like RJ Moten, but he seems a little faster and a little better tackler than Moten from just some of the film I've been watching on him. I mean, he seems like a better player than Moten. I mean, I don't know if he's going to be all SEC, but maybe it could at least give us some more snaps.
And I got to give a shout out to Ocho. He made sure that we were getting the pronunciation right. It is Triquez. It's like Jaquez, but Triquez. So I butchered it the very first time I tried to say it. I butchered it the first time I said it. And hey, mistake on me. I actually went and listened to an Oregon podcast, and they said it however I said it originally. And he didn't correct them, so I just assumed that was the right one. But shout out to Ocho for actually finding him saying it. And I was like, well, there we go. And then Oregon's site also had a pronunciation. So that's probably where I should have went first. But there I go for overthinking it a bit.
Did you see the way his grandpa reacted? That was good. That was fun. That was pretty funny. I love to see that the way.
You know what? I missed that. And I was so busy that day. I meant to go back and look. So explain that. I didn't see it.
Well, he was kind of like joking around with his grandpa. It's like, yeah, he's like, I'm gonna go to Washington, and the grandpa is is just like kind of like getting upset a little bit, and then he's like, well, where do you think I should go? He's like, Florida. He's like, oh, we're going to Florida. Then the grandpa starts running around the house like gator chomping and everything. It was just cool to see.
Oh, I have to go back and watch. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that was nice. I saw that.
I'll definitely go back and look that up. So I think with the departure of Kimber, it gets Florida to 85 right now. And I still expect more guys to be a part of the attrition of this class. So that's just
Kimber's gone too.
Yeah, that's how this conversation started.
Oh man, come on!
What do you mean, oh man? It's not like it was a.
Well, shoot, he was like the best of the worst.
I don't know if I'd go that far either, but it wasn't an overall net gain overall for him, so I think it makes sense.
Right.
I think his best year was the year he had a hurt hand. Only had one hand out there.
Oddly enough, probably so.
And then also in hindsight, everybody, if Georgia's like bye, then there you go.
Yeah, enough with the Georgia rejects. We've had enough of those.
Yeah,
Right.
that is the thing about the transfer portal. Look, I think when the portal first opened, I think a lot of people thought it was going to be guys that just couldn't make it at other schools. And that probably was some of the case for Cox and for Kimber and guys like that eventually come to Florida. But, I mean, we do see it now. That thought has completely changed. Conjunction with NIL, the portal, it's not guys that just can't make it anywhere else now. We see it on our own team with Trevor Etienne hitting the portal, but I mean, I don't think we should automatically dismiss guys from that still leave Georgia. And now, of course, we can go, how much did they play? How much did they contribute? Were they big-time contributors? Like Dumas Johnson, he was a contributor for Georgia's defense. Now he's playing for Kentucky. Florida's got to play him again anyway. But, I think now there's a lot of research being done. Like the guys Florida has brought in so far in this transfer portal, guys who have played a ton of snaps, and I think trying to better their situation. I think we go back and look at some of those Georgia guys, and Georgia probably didn't want them. But a lot of these guys, I think we saw it last year when Moten in Michigan. I know we just kind of brought that up with Oregon and Bridges. I guess that maybe could kind of be the worry there, but there's something you can point to. It's not just guy who went to a school and sat on the bench for a couple of years and then decides to transfer. At least there is some production, and you hope that Florida's able to unlock it here. But yeah, originally transfer portal was certainly the worry. Well, those guys probably just couldn't make it at their other school, but now there's a lot of quality in the transfer portal.
I mean, my thoughts are if we're not gonna get guys like Dumas Johnson or some of these other SEC players, like we're gonna have to take a big stab, at getting more guys like the offensive tackle, that we got from San Diego State. We're just gonna have to load up on kids like that if like we're not gonna land like the big fish. We're just gonna have to get it at the lower level as the bet, before everybody else does. That's just gonna have to be our strategy.
Now, one thing I'll bring up on that, guys, is now I hate the comparison. You guys know I hate the comparison, but FSU went and got a bunch of guys, and it's not like those guys were superstars on the teams that they left and came in.
FSU also put their whole team in the portal too.
Yeah, but I'm just going here about where the conversation where I was headed. It's just you see that they don't have to be the quote unquote can't miss guys. I mean, there's guys that you have to point to. I mean, we saw it. Arizona State's roster got gutted when Herm Edwards left, and you see guys like Wilson go to FSU and Pierce Hall come to Florida and Jane Daniels go to LSU. I mean, it's there's some quality there. There's some quality there. But FSU is probably a good example of not necessarily getting the superstars out of the portal, but being able to get enough of those guys, fit them into their system, and it paying off.
Yeah, but we slow play the portal, and
Yeah.
all the good guys are gone. I mean, and then we're kind of left with the four we got. And I'm not saying they won't be, good contributors, but if you go and look and throw all the names when the portal first opened, all the names that have already gone on and come off. I mean, we didn't really land any big fish, and it kind of feels like we needed that to turn this roster around, or feels like we do need it. I mean, we still have another portal, coming, but if you look at 247's portal rankings, which I don't know how much water that holds or not, but we're 37th, so we got the 37th best portal class out there. That if I'm looking at that correctly, and I may not be, trust me.
No, I think you're right if you look at it that way. Yeah.
So that's not really that to me. That doesn't seem like a.
I think the easy. I think as far as kind of like high school recruiting, I think top of the portal recruiting rankings, that's probably easy to decipher. Probably once you start getting down that list, it's probably hard to decipher who means more, and positions and number comes into play. I think a lot more than a quote unquote high school recruiting class ranking.
Yeah, give me 1 second. Yeah, I get that. I'm just.
Oh no, it's worth bringing
feels like
up,
yeah. It just feels like we should have been more urgent.
I got you.
after the season ended when the portal opened,
Yeah.
like immediately.
Hey guys, if you're not contributing to the conversation right away, mute your mic. I think it's Tay. I hear some other conversation there.
My bad.
All right.
Kind of to that point.
Yeah.
Oh,
go ahead.
sorry.
No, go ahead. I was about to move on, but go ahead if you want to continue that one.
So with the losses of the Wallers, Amaris, Wardell Mack, X, do we not have excess funds now that we can allocate to the portal?
I would assume. I don't know how fast that shifts and changes. I mean, some of those guys were just within the last few days. So I don't think it's just a matter of shifting right away. I would assume now you reassess. After signing day and coming up with another transfer portal window. With this window, when's it in? January 2nd? Is that right? Maybe I'm wrong on that.
No, I think that's right.
Something like that. Anyway, so you have that. Now, what happens in the next few days? Bunch of bowl games, all that stuff's left to be played. But then you got that spring window at the same time. So yeah, I think fun. You would assume the NIL part of this and the part that nobody necessarily wants to talk a whole lot of publicly about comes into play here.
I got something to ask you there, Dave, concerning the NIL dynamic a little bit. I think a lot of these kids, matter of fact, I don't really know it for sure, but it seemed like to me they're leveraging when they're doing this early commitment stuff. They're leveraging other universities to go up higher, and then if UF want them, then they'll go up some more. You see what I mean? So so what I'm asking is, do you think that it's that UF is not willing to play that kind of game, but the Hugh Freezes and the other guys are willing to play it?
I think it pretty much depends on who it is. I think if you want to go that route, somebody like a Jeremiah Smith, from everything I could gather from the Florida side, it's a blank check. If you can get him, you get him. So I think it really is even position dependent. We've all talked about the storyline of running back for Florida and how they quote unquote won't overspend for a running back just because Billy Napier believes that. And look, in his offense, that position is very valuable. Now, overall, in the sport of football, it's probably, there's not a lot of value there. But at the same time, you're kind of given that is, you can fit a lot of guys into a scheme there. So I think it really is player dependent for Florida. A lot of times it's position dependent. Maybe who you have on the roster. Transfer portal probably comes into play there, but gonna go into your scenario, yeah, that certainly happens of trying to let Florida do the legwork, do the groundwork, and then as we get closer to signing day, you up the ante there and see if they'll match it or if they won't match it. But we know that's what goes on in that. But I do think kind of going to your scenario, it's more of probably specific to a certain player.
Okay, so perhaps maybe the coaches felt like, hey, them guys worth the back and forth, and just let them go, So, because you know what I'm saying? Because if Auburn say Auburn, up there say, yeah, we'll do this, and then it'll come back to us, and then we're like, nah, that's all right, bro, we good, So
I can see the scenario
on a couple of guys,
yeah.
So
probably can start getting a whole lot of talk you don't want if you start diving into those weeds.
So, Dave, I got a question.
What's up?
It pertains to NIL, but it's more so with Napier and staff, and that being with what we pretty much have seen, since Napier has come aboard, and then more so this year of the evaluations that have been pretty spot on, with quite a few players that are not maybe attending a lot of camps, like some others, but they start coming on late. in the system. How do you think that we approach going into next year with, quite a few teams that are now looking at like, hey, Napier and Co has a pretty good eye for, talent acquisition and picking them up before they start to really take off?
Oh, I think that's an angle for sure. And don't get me wrong. I mean, at the same time, Florida is evaluating a lot of these guys. There's other schools are too. Now maybe Florida does do something early on to at least but we've all heard how personable the staff is and how the relationship building part of it, and that probably impresses early on as these guys are starting the recruiting process. So I think kind of pairing those two things, I think Florida does stand out a good bit in recruits' minds. But as they start taking other visits, and as you said, as time goes by, and hey, these guys are interested in Florida, sure. Maybe it causes other teams look. They might be interested in those prospects, but it causes them to dive in even more. Like, what possibly are these guys seeing? But it's that's kind of thin ice. I think that's given Florida. I don't necessarily want to say too much credit here for that, because I'm not trying to down what teams like Georgia and Alabama are doing at the same time. I mean, as good as Georgia has been recruiting, getting those 4 stars and 5 stars, look at a lot of the 3 stars they're getting at other positions like wide receiver and Stetson Bennett at quarterback. I mean, yeah, they get the 4 and 5 stars, and they're delivering a good bit for their teams too. But let's not forget, Georgia's getting the lower guys and developing those as well. And that was a big slam on Kirby early on. And it's the 4 and 5 stars and gets that. He doesn't develop. Well, I mean, they're doing a lot of the good development too of lower tier prospects. So, I can see the angle. I know that's been joked about a bit, especially for like Florida and Miami last cycle, or maybe even Florida Auburn this cycle of, hey, Florida, they'll do the legwork, they'll do the groundwork, and we'll just come in late and swoop in. I think there's a sliver of truth on that, but there's all these other schools have evaluation staff departments that do a lot of groundwork as well.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's a little overblown. Every school, they have access to every player. We may, like you said, there may be a few that we hit on a little earlier and we start the relationship with a little earlier, but that's probably about it. And these other schools are looking at them too.
And maybe they're going for bigger fish first.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, we don't have the leveraging.
That's part of it too. Yeah.
That we don't have the leveraging that Georgia has, or Texas, or USC. I mean, they have winning programs. We haven't been a winning program in a little bit. So,
and look, that's part of the conversation too. When getting this thing started, and when NIL was kind of getting started with the same time as Napier and all that. I was all aboard on the train of, if you got to overpay, you overpay. I mean, you've got to dig out of the hole. Found out we were just digging the hole deeper in a lot of ways, but it was.
I thought we would get the feeling they would do it more like that. You know what I mean? And hey, if you got like the WWE, you got to hold the rope sometime and pull the tights if you want to get ahead.
Yep.
So,
let's go ahead, and I'll try and wrap this angle up a bit.
No, that's fine. Go ahead. I was going to say a snarky comment.
Okay. Let's get to the newest hire there for the Gators, and that would be one Gerald Chatman, defensive line coach, was announced right here on this Friday, and no big surprise. And hey, I'll go give myself a good bit of credit here. I think I had it first in the Discord before his name started popping up everywhere else. So you guys can back me up on that, but. That was name told you guys to watch out for, and there it was. Look, I always say watch out for, because these things aren't, until that announcement we got this morning, these things aren't 100%. So you guys know how I will word the things now. So it's at one time was looking like Jess Simpson, of course, at Duke, but it looks like now, or not looks like it right now, it's official. Gerald Chatman. It's been announced, of course, this Friday. Billy Napier says we are excited to welcome Jared and Lauren Gerald and Lauren, along with Kinley, Amelia, Maya, Tyson, to our Gators family. He would do a great job with our defensive line. Gerald has proven to be an effective teacher, motivator, mentor, and recruiter throughout his career. His experience in the SEC, NFL, and other levels of football will be beneficial. We are excited to get to work alongside Gerald as he starts his journey at UF. Chatman chimed in and said, "My family and I are excited to join the University of Florida. I look forward to relentlessly working with Coach Napier, the staff, and players to uphold the standard of the historic Gators football program. I embrace the challenge." So Chatman joins the Gators after serving as Tulane's defensive line coach during the 2023 season. The Green Wave defense ranked 8th in the country in rush defense, 93.5 yards a game, 4th in turnovers gained, 25, 22 in sacks with 34, and 25th in tackles for loss with 82. Guys, I just read off those stats where Florida struggled every sense of those stats this past season. Rush defense, it was really good. Turnovers gained was really good. Sacks was really good. Tackles for loss, really good. So you hope Chatman played a huge role in a lot of those. Tulane's defensive line group has totaled 52.5 tackles for loss, 27 sacks, 15 quarterback hurries, 5 forced fumbles, 4 pass breakups this past season. Chatman guided Patrick Jenkins, who was named the AAC Defensive Lineman and Interior Defensive Lineman of the Year. And Jenkins and fellow defensive lineman Darius Hodges were both named AAC first team. So I think we have to be a little careful there. I'm going to give him credit. He was there. Hopefully he helped develop, somewhat, but he was only there a year. So the recruiting part of this, of course, he's not going to get a whole lot of credit there. But you do hope he unlocks something right away in these guys that helped them. This defensive line group, 52.5 tackles for loss, 27 sacks, 15 quarterback hurries, 5 forced fumbles, 4 pass breakups. As I said, Patrick Jenkins, AAC defensive lineman, interior defensive lineman of the year. You hope, he played a huge role into that. Before his return to Tulane, Chatman spent the spring portion as LSU's interim defensive line coach in 23 before being hired by the Green Wave in May. Made his way back to the Southeastern Conference in 2021 as a defensive analyst at LSU. Worked with NFL draft picks Neil Farrell and Andre Anthony. On that, I reached out to my good friend Blake Ruffino, and I shared this, of course. Blake and I do our Florida LSU preview together every year. So very green to recruiting is what Blake said, but one of the best defensive line developers in the game. LSU defensive line guys have said he's a tactician. Great developer, great hire by Billy Napier is what Blake had to say. I started digging around a little bit more as well. And there's a lot of people at LSU who did not want to see this guy go. They wanted to keep him in. They wanted to keep him in the program in some way. But of course, it was like he took that job at Tulane, kind of fast tracked to success. And now another young guy for Florida to put on this roster, not a lot of big experience. But going to Tulane and bringing it. But he was with the Cincinnati Bengals in 19 and 20, of course. So has that NFL experience that I just talked about in Cincinnati. So, and then Tennessee State as well. So kind of a quick history there, but some high praise for a little short window there at Tulane, kind of coming off of his days at LSU.
What do you think of the hire, Dave?
I can't. Right. I think sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but kind of going where you're going. I can't. Positive, negative. I'll stay right here in the middle. It's
wait and see.
It is wait and see, guys. We know we're not. There's no need in trying to hide behind the fact this wasn't the top choice. We all know it. Then it doesn't mean it won't work out. Of course it could work out, but that's not a slam at him either. That's not what I'm trying to do here. But we can be truthful. We can kind of approach this. It was not the first choice that when they were trying to make this hire after Sean Spencer was fired. We've heard a lot of names going around the last couple of weeks, I guess. And of course, this one didn't come up right away. if it was going to be him right after the firing was made, he probably would have been hired a couple of weeks ago. But that does not mean he can't be a quality hire here. If you can somehow, now probably part of this, I didn't have time to do it, and maybe somebody else has done it here. What was Tulane doing on defensive line before him? That doesn't mean he doesn't get credit for whatever they were able to do this year. And those stats I just rattled off. Did he walk into a pretty good situation and upheld it? Did he turn it around right away? But all in all, I like the potential of the hire. Going and asking, there's a reason I went to Blake was Blake tells it like it is. He publicly, he said all the right things about this guy as a developer. So hopefully we see all those traits pay immediate dividends for Florida.
What I was trying to go into, Dave, is it seems this hire it seems really similar to like the hire that Georgia Tech made. You know what I mean? And some of the people in Discord have mentioned this, but the hire that Georgia Tech made of Buster Faulkner, it seems this hire right here that seems very similar. It just seems like another up and coming guy. That Florida's trying to get. Even though they may have missed on a couple of guys, he does seem like he's worked with quite a few guys that they think very highly of him. As you alluded to.
Yeah, I was trying to. That's part of it too. The up and coming part. You have Austin Armstrong, who was now an up and coming defensive coordinator. Now you've kind of done that and I guess in some ways DB coach, but he did have the experience at Washington, did Harris. More so now with Chatman at defensive line. Certainly not the experience of like a Sean Spencer when he came along, but didn't really pay off here. So just putting a lot of big time inexperience together on this defense.
Which makes you question who the linebacker coach is going to be. Are we going to come with another young and up and comer?
I was just wanting to know because it seemed like to me we have an issue with like toughness. Does that run along the lines of the strength and conditioning, or is that more of a mentality thing? You can't really coach it.
Yeah, that's kind of where I go with
it. But maybe you can if somebody can instill it in you, because how they say players are a reflection of the coach.
Yeah.
But when I look at Austin Armstrong, I don't really look at him and say he tough. But I don't, you can't judge a book by its cover,
we see a lot of those videos Florida puts out, and they're pregame in the locker room, and Armstrong seems to be that fiery guy. We see him on the sidelines, that fiery guy. I think there's something there for him as far as that goes. But of course, we didn't necessarily see it bleed over as the season went along. We thought we were getting it after that Tennessee game, of course. And I think Florida looked a lot like what we thought Austin Armstrong looked. But we didn't see that as the season went on. Things like that are really tough. Now, you can start asking around. And I do think around maybe the halfway point of the season, just a little past that, I know that kind of came up, and we got some word that maybe the players weren't so big of a fans of hockey overall. I think that even came out when the first bit of workouts were starting as well. And we know changes will be made there for the strength and conditioning at Florida. Hockey no longer leading that, and we'll see. We've heard some names going along there, but that's just it's so hard to measure. It's not like a pure stat. On pure stat, you maybe can go by or like tackles for loss and missed tackles and that. It's hard to measure mentality of somebody. It's I think it's a slippery slope there, but I do think, like I said, we start asking around maybe what some of the issues are behind the scenes there. It just seemed like the players weren't big fans of hockey.
What about, Dave, the fact that, I think when they look at players that they're recruiting, they should find Keanu Neals, Major Wrights, Brandon Spikes, guys who are headhunters, guys who are aggressive, guys who look to be physical, to be intimidating. I don't see that with this team. I haven't seen it for a long time. And
In
it
a
makes
long
me
time.
wonder, what are they looking at? I mean, it's like the standard is there. This is what is necessary for them to have a national title contending team. And we don't have those anymore. I miss those safeties, those corners that would come up and tackle in the flat and give you minimal gains. That's what Georgia has. That's what we need. And it seems like we don't recruit those type of players. It's like, yeah, they could be 5 stars, but I mean, it's like, look at Kamari Wilson. I don't care what stars you have, but if you don't show that physicality in your tape, why are you recruiting them?
I mean, I think we have seen that. Sharif Denson. I mean, I'll go to him locally because I saw him play in person. There's a lot of highlights out there. You see that in a guy like Sharif Denson. I saw it.
I hope so.
The guys like Jakeem Jackson, Jaden Robinson, the linebacker. That I'm going by guys I've seen a lot locally here. So of course, I have to go and watch film on other guys. But guys like Jaden Robinson out of Columbia, that's not far from Jacksonville. I'm hearing from him in the area. That's watch him play some. That's what you were getting in him. Miles Graham at linebacker. That's what you're getting in him as well. So you do see it in a lot of these guys that Florida's recruiting, but now it's got to translate. It does certainly have to translate.
Wasn't Phil Simi?
So.
Yeah, Phil Simi.
Recruited
that's one reason I hated losing him. That is what I saw.
Yeah.
When I saw him on
Exactly.
tape, that I saw a guy who is coming down making tackles, making sure he gets into the, get hat on ball and get in on the action. That's one reason I was such a huge fan of him.
Yeah, he was probably the biggest loss of signing day. I mean, I guess it happened the day before signing day, but still, the previous week, he was the biggest hit.
I mean, even on a lower tier, because I know we're all looking at the 4 stars and 5 stars, but guys, go look at Jack Pyburn's film. Go tell me that guy doesn't want to go hit and go tackle and put a hat on the ball, show a lot of physicality. That's the MO of his game. So I just it's hard to measure. A step up in competition, I'm sure, has a lot to do with it.
Yeah. Maybe it's a leadership thing because to tell you the truth, who's been our leader on defense the last 2-3 years? Who? Okay,
Ventrell Miller. Before this past season,
more like Venture, and since him, we haven't seen you. You're looking for it from Amon Miel, and he's gone. And these other ones, you can't get it out of them. So maybe guys like L.J. McCray, maybe he could come in and be something, to spark something. And
I don't think we should overlook Shamar there.
Oh well, yes, Shamar James. I forgot about him because he got hurt. But
Cam Jackson up front. There's some guys.
He'll be back.
No, I see what you're saying though. I mean, those are leaders, of course, but who's the alpha? Who's the
right?
Those guys, they're not. Now, a lot of this is got to play into success, and it's a lot easy. It's easier. It's a lot easier to name somebody like Brandon Spikes and Tim Tebow. I mean, it honestly is. It's probably not fair to ask guys to be those guys. But in some ways, that's what you're looking for.
You're looking for guys that can hold other guys accountable. Because I'm switching sports, but people only watch the Chicago Bulls, those Bulls teams, but Michael Jordan will knock your ass out if you don't play hard. Okay, you're gonna play hard, I'm gonna punch you in your nose, Steve Kerr. So we need guys out there like that. Hey, if you don't damn play and follow me, I'm gonna kick your butt. So hold them accountable. So, and I don't know if we have a whole lot of those kind of guys.
I think Shamar will be that guy. I mean, I think he was kind of that guy this year, but I mean, it was his first year as a full-time starter. So, I mean, I think next year you'll see that from him. I mean, he's kind of got that mentality, I believe.
And guys, I do think
Sure,
it, and not
definitely.
and not because he was on the podcast a couple of weeks ago and stuff. I think Graham Mertz has a lot of great leadership qualities. Just from what we've seen. Now, like I said, he's not a Tim Tebow or anything like that. Not many people are. I know that's the standard. That's the alpha you're looking for. But like I said, there is some leadership on this team. There is. It's just I think it's easy to overlook it when you got a 5-7 record and ask yourself how much does it mean. But there's some there.
I'm gonna say this about Graham Mertz, man. If we become good again, and he's that bridge guy, and we win a championship off of DJ's success or whatever, or however it goes, we need to give that man a ring. Okay.
I'm glad you said that. And I'm going to pull up. Go ahead, but I'm going to pull up the quote Billy Napier said on that exact topic. So, go ahead.
Yeah, we need to give that man a ring because I'm so glad he came, and he is as good as. I mean, I'm glad we were wrong about him. Okay, so that's all I'm
he's pretty much the only chance we got of being successful next year. I mean, our defense needs to pick it up, but if Napier wants to keep his job, we're all thinking, 7, 8, 9 wins in that season next year, and he's going to be a big reason for those wins.
Yeah, here's what Billy Napier said on that, on DJ Lagway and the Graham Mertz being that bridge. He goes, I told DJ last week, it's probably, when we look back at DJ's career, we're going to say one of the more impactful decisions in his career was the fact that Graham Mertz made the decision to play an additional year of football. I think Graham's a professional. He certainly had a good year, but I think more importantly, DJ is going to get a chance to observe a guy who knows how to prepare, knows how to lead, understands the attention to detail, the discipline. What does that year-round process look like to be a college quarterback at this level? And DJ's transition would have been a lot more difficult if Graham Mertz wasn't here. DJ is the kind of guy that's going to come in and embrace that. I could say that Graham is the same type of leader. He's confident enough and selflessness enough. Those two guys are very much like-minded. They're going to hit the ground running here. It won't be long. I think we're going to look back and say, you know what? That was a huge decision relative to DJ's long-term career.
I will say this about DJ. I was listening to the way he was talking in some of the signing day stuff, and it's like I'm not making a comparison with him and Tebow, but it's just like the way he carries himself. Like, he sounds very similar to Tebow. He seems like a family kid. Like he's a lot about his family. His parents seem like good parents. I don't know him personally, but I just from watching stuff, and he just seems like a good all around kid.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. And this, I don't know why it didn't pop in my head the other day, but it just popped in my head now. You said Tebow and all that kind of stuff. Let's go back to Swamp Kings, and let's go back to the recruitment of Tim Tebow. Let's go back to Urban Meyer talking about 2005 and how he thought he might get fired pretty quick because it wasn't working. Now, don't get me wrong. Florida was nowhere near of a rut that they are in right now. But think of the way Tebow had to think about that as well. There was a big question coming in under Urban Meyer. The big question of if this offense would work in the SEC. I don't know if Urban Meyer fully knew it would without a player like Tim Tebow. And I don't know if Tim Tebow knew this offense would work like it did under Urban Meyer. I'm sure he had a ton of questions about the direction a bit of, what does this offense like? How much do I really mean in an offense like this? If I'm going there, is this an offense that's going to showcase me the right way? I think there are some similarities in a belief in what the head coach is doing from the quarterback.
It also helped that Tebow was coming in with the #1 class in the nation.
You read my mind. I was going to go there next.
Well, yeah.
And unfortunately, Lagway's top 3 class plummeted in the last month. So
yeah, Tebow was coming in with Percy Harvin, and I mean, no,
Brandon Spikes.
Yeah, no shade to offensive players. Hey, I did put up a nice article on Gators Breakdown. I'm a huge fan of the backfield. DJ Lagway and these 2 running backs. Guys, I mean, it is stats galore. The stats are unreal when you look at. I got it pulled up here because I just posted it not long before we went live. But one more time, Lagway in his career, 42 games, 8,392 yards, 100 touchdowns, rushed for 2,196 yards, 293 carries, 29 scores there. His senior season completed 290 passes for 4,604 yards and 58 touchdowns. That is
Mercy me.
insane stats. So then you go to the running backs. Kanan Daniels out of Mississippi was named Mississippi 5A Mr. Football. 288 carries, 2,737 yards, 29 touchdowns his senior year. In one game, 427 rushing yards, 7 touchdowns. His career, 5,541 yards, 58 touchdowns, 9.9 yards a carry. And he had 8 touchdowns, passing touchdowns as well, because he played quarterback in a run heavy offense there. But then Jaden Ball out of Georgia, 4-star, of course, decommitted from Arkansas. Florida got him over Bama. This past year, 1,583 yards. That's on 113 carries. Guys, that was 14 yards a carry, 19 touchdowns. And his senior season or his junior season, you saw the potential. He had 15 carries for 306 yards. That was 20.4 yards a carry and 3 touchdowns. So this backfield, I mean, I felt so strong enough. I had to write an article about it on gatorsbreakdown.com. It is insane, the stats these guys put up in the Florida backfield for this 2024 class.
Yeah, I don't feel like excuse me. I don't feel like Caden Daniels is through moving up. I think when he goes into his whichever All-Star game he's playing in, I think they're going to move him up in the rankings even more after that. Like I'm very high on that kid.
He's already a 4-star now. He started out 3. He's a 4 now. So, that's ridiculous. But shout out to our running backs coach, Luke. Is that his name?
Mm-hmm.
My gosh, he's fabulous job.
And look,
fabulous.
And I know, guys, we've discussed it. Not getting the top backs. Florida's had the state of Florida, the last couple of classes has had what? One of, if not the top backs in the country. And Florida's been in it, but not in it at the same time. You can read the tea leaves there. But
I don't think it's necessary in this system. I mean, I think this system, the Napier system, proves that. I mean, ETN was a 3-star. I mean,
and you guys know
Johnson a 3-star.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah, maybe quote unquote. Maybe am I a stargazer at times? Yes, we all should be. And seeing what it ultimately pays off, but that doesn't mean there's not good players elsewhere. There's not the number one player at a position, and I'm big fans of what this offense looks like at times in running the ball with these 2 running backs that they're bringing in.
Yeah, I think that's the one position that you can kind of make an exception for with Billy Napier's offense. The running back. But like I said, we raved about Trevor Etienne. And we're really upset when he left. He was a 3-star coming out of high school, wasn't he?
Yep.
I mean, I like Daniels. Daniels is going to be good.
Everyone's forgetting about Big Cam Carroll coming back and Trey Webb.
On Carroll, I'm not so sure about that. There's some talk about that injury being a little bit worse. There might be some potential nerve damage. And associated with that. So hopefully the news is better, but I'm not going to hide behind the fact of what's out there. That's not 100% confirmed, so let me say that as well. But I will say, we discuss what's going on around there. So hopefully some news comes out about that soon, one way or the other. Hopefully it's positive news for somebody like Cam Carroll. But I will put that out there, and hopefully it's not true. But I know the talk is there of that being the case.
That's why he added Jaden Ball.
Yeah, that sucks for him.
So hopefully, around the holidays might be kind of tough, but maybe I can start asking around there a bit too. All right, one more topic before we go, guys. And man, what a I mean, come on.
Oh, do we have to?
Never a dull moment. Never a dull moment. I'll pop that up too. Here we go. Never a dull moment in Gator Nation. I'm making this video, of course, for it'll be a little Christmas treat for everybody else out there. That's not Gators Breakdown Plus members, but Jay Bateman heading to Texas A&M stings a bit with the class he just brought in. You know, I know some people will say, and it's hard to disagree fully. Not such a huge miss. What have these linebackers shown the last couple of years? I'll go there. I'll start there quickly. I thought he made immediate dividends for a player like Amari Burney. Amari Burney had his best year as a Gator with Jay Bateman leading the coaching at the linebacker spot. Ventrell Miller had to play a bit injured. I thought we saw some good things from Shamar James as a true freshman. He may just be that talented. That can certainly be the case. I thought he was playing pretty well this year till he had to play with injury and then ultimately got injured where he couldn't play. It was more for me with Jay Bateman. I wanted to see him with these guys that were just coming in, more the true linebackers. I think Florida with Scooby Williams out there, not a shot at Scooby. I thought he did some good things when Shamar James was out there with him. When he kind of had to be the guy at linebacker, it wasn't working out like it was when James was out there. But it was for me. It was I wanted to see Bateman with Childs. I wanted to see Bateman with Graham because behind the scenes he has got a great reputation as a coach. Now his defenses at North Carolina, of course, were kind of putrid. We kind of heard earlier this year he may get another shot at being a defensive coordinator somewhere. That died down. Texas A&M makes the coaching change with Mike Elko. He hires him as a defensive coordinator where he'll be reunited with Sean Spencer. So two Gator coaches there on that defense. Maybe they'll have the kind of same fortune, but
Chemistry,
yeah. But that's Elko's defense, of course. So probably not. But with Bateman, you can sell me. It was a little bit not what we wanted to see fully as far as coaching goes at linebacker. For me, it was more about the projection.
I mean, if you're allowed to talk about it, Dave, what exactly happened there? I mean, did he just get an offer from Texas A&M that he couldn't refuse? Because I feel like Florida was taking care of him pretty well, and it's like
it is
Ernest.
It is a promotion.
Go ahead.
It is a promotion. Yeah. He doesn't have a young DC telling him what to do.
Yeah, that's true. And I mean, I don't really understand what happened with the Ernest Graham thing. That really upset me because Ernest is one of my favorite players of all time. It's like that really, I think that really got a bunch of Gator fans upset. I really don't know if maybe Jay didn't tell that Miles that he was leaving or what really happened. I mean, if you can't get in it, that's fine. But I mean, just as talking for all Gator fans, that just upset us all.
I would tell you what I think I know about that situation. I think Billy Napier was blindsided by it. I don't think Billy Napier knew until yesterday, until it was announced. From everything I can gather, that absolutely was the case. Going to Ernest's comments, it sounded to me like it was more than just that. That incident of Bateman leaving, to me, sounded like the straw that broke the camel's back. My son was raised to understand the business as it exists, said Ernest Graham. But let me start over. My son was raised to understand the business as it exists, but there has been new levels of disconnect with this program that I have never experienced and never was in all caps. No calls, no communication, and the driest experience imaginable. I'm just going to start there. That sounds to me like it was a lot more than just Jay Bateman leaving. This kind of seems like it was a series of events. This was the thing that set him off where he felt like he needed to go public with it on social media. Do I wish he would have? No. Did I share it? Did I give comments on it? Sure. I'm not going to dig my head in the sand and act like it's not out there, not like he didn't say it. I know some people want to say, why share something like that? It's only going to damage the program. Look, by the time I retweeted it, there was about 60 or 100 retweets already. I didn't break it. I didn't do anything else. Nobody else would have done either. I think by the time I even retweeted it, there was even articles about it already. So whatever.
Yeah, I mean,
To me,
it's just a bad look.
it is a bad look. Hopefully it gets rectified. You got a Gator legend there. You got a son here. I'm sure they want to be at Florida. I mean, he went to high school in Gainesville. I mean, this was the move. This was meant to be. I don't think anything happens. I think it'll get hashed out. Of course, there's some things that have to get hashed out, but this did not seem to me like this was just about Bateman leaving and going to Texas A&M. I think it was part of it, probably a huge part of it, but this does not sound like the first incident.
Say, was Steve Spurrier Ernest's coach?
Yep.
Okay, might have to get Steve in on the thing.
Let me ask you this, Dave. I know you say, and everybody, I mean, you say that Billy Napier was caught off guard, but should he have been caught off guard? I mean, shouldn't he have been a little bit more aware of maybe one of his coaches was looking at taking another job, or was it really just they offered him that morning, say, take it or leave it right now? I mean, was it a situation like that, or maybe it's just
I could see that. I can't imagine it. Yesterday was interview and hire. I'm sure Bateman, behind the scenes interviewed. I can't imagine Florida coaches knowing. I don't think Billy Napier knew about it. That's a good question of should he have, but I don't know the secrecy of what A&M and Elko and Bateman were doing. So without knowing that, I can't say Billy Napier should have known. Ideally, he would have. No doubt about it. That would be the ideal situation. But as far as I know, he was told yesterday morning, and one of the very first things, even in his mind, was to talk to Childs, talk to Graham, and get on the same page or whatever that page was. But to me, it is hard to blame Billy Napier. It is at the same time just kind of one more thing to check off, and just some things that just haven't gone right, whether it's his fault or not his fault. But that's just kind of the reality of the situation right now.
Yeah, and it makes you kind of question the relationship between Bateman and Napier.
Yeah.
And like I said, we don't know the details. It's all speculation. But for him to just up and leave without giving some kind of notice, like, hey, I've been offered to interview for the A&M job. I just want to let you know that there's this possibility for not to be any prior communication before it happened. It just kind of, I guess, leaves more questions than answers.
And on that note too, I'm sure the breaking news part of it came from the A&M side. Florida definitely wouldn't have wanted it out first like that.
Yeah.
Well, the way it looks is that they try to get the boy in house and then announce it after. That's what it looks like.
Oh, that's definitely what it looks like. Yeah. It certainly looks like that.
Yeah. So,
and look, that happens a lot.
Mm-hmm. So
we'll see who the next hire is there for linebacker coach. I know Bam Hardman's name, former Gator. His name has been brought up a whole lot. A lot of, and I'm telling you guys, look at the bio. A lot of success at Troy. That would be another Sunbelt hire coming into the SEC. I get it from the guys at Louisiana coming with Napier, and now just made a hire from Tulane with Chatman. That should not stop you if you truly believe he's the guy. That should not stop you from making the hire. But also, I mean, another name that a lot of us want, and I would personally want too. I'd be happy with either one of them. Would be Jamar Chaney as well. But him at Florida in an analyst role, getting a coaching role there at Western Kentucky this past year, and would he come back this soon? So it would be two names. One you'd be bringing up from the Sun Belt with a lot of experience now. Hardman has a lot of experience, so it's not like he's inexperienced. He's just big boy level experience. To somebody like Chaney, who just doesn't have a whole lot of experience in general, but we know is a great recruiter.
I would love
him.
Yeah, I would love the Bam Hardman hire. I'm trying just to piggyback off what the other guy said.
You guys have a
Bam would be good
preference? Yeah, I think so too.
Troy's like an hour north of me. I mean, it's technically the closest college to me, so I've watched them quite a few times. Their defense, I mean,
it's always
they're not bad.
Yeah,
yeah,
always seems to be strong in front.
They're good.
Yeah,
yeah,
I thought
either one of those.
I thought Mike Peterson was the, because he was a linebacker. I thought he was the dang on coach, but
Well, he does that outside linebacker edge. So this would be more of your middle inside linebacker, which I think
inside.
he could do as well. But I think probably getting one more guy on staff here.
Right.
And maybe that's why you bring in somebody like Hardman, where Peterson has gotten some pretty good reviews very recently of recruiting well for Florida, being in a lot of these recruitments for this class. And maybe he helps out there, but Chaney would bring the recruiting background more so, and we just kind of have to wait and see for the coaching and developing aspect of it. So a couple ways to go there, different routes, I think, as well. I know our good buddy Hal on Twitter, Big Booster Hal. I mean, he's not lying when he goes out there and says NIL is the new recruiter. So maybe you don't need as strong as a recruiter as far as relationships go in today's college football. So go out there and just get the best coach.
Yeah,
Right,
that's true.
right.
I mean, we've been talking about for a while getting more Gators on the staff too. So that to go, and I mean, the thing about it, would go into your point, Dave, about the Sun Belt coaches. It's like it just seems like these Sun Belt coaches are having a harder time figuring it out because it took Eli Drinkwitz, had 3 losing seasons.
Yeah,
and then he finally started figuring it out and he started making moves. The off season with Napier seems similar to the way Eli's up year went. He's starting to notice the mistakes, but it may be too late for Napier. We'll find out this year, but I'm hoping it's not.
Yeah, these hires, when we talk about hires, when we talk about portal, both kind of have to be in that immediate impact role. So maybe that affects the hire as well.
Yeah, that's true.
And you still got to wonder, what coach you have to sell a coach to come back, and it could possibly be a 1-year gig. I mean, Bam Hardman's been at Troy for a long time, so asking him to, he'd be taking it's probably eventually what he wants to do is make that next step up to the SEC. But you'd have to look at, is it a long-term gig?
Yeah, for him, that's probably where the alma mater probably could be the tiebreaker. If it's a hard decision, say it was Auburn or say it was Ole Miss, all right, maybe I stick around another year if it was the same situation. But man, this is going home. I'm from Jacksonville. I'm back in my area.
Yep.
You probably
it's a lot nicer than Troy too. I'll tell you.
Yeah, there's not much to Troy.
No, there's not.
And kind of end all this, we look, no hiding. Chaney's interested, so we'll see what that means. Napier has a familiarity with him as well. So, like I said, there's a couple of ways looking at it. I think you could be happy with either hire if it's one of those two guys.
Yeah, they're both right answers to me. I like them both.
Yeah, I kind of wish CI was not a high school coach with this success, but a college coach. I'm just saying, boy, goodness.
With you bringing that up, I'm starting to wonder, because all these people have him on their podcasts and stuff, and it's like he seems like when his kids get out of high school, he said he's open to the idea of coming to Florida. It seems like, but I don't know if I'm reading that wrong, but that's just what it seems like.
No, I think he would
be a big jump.
Yeah, I had him on the podcast. 2-3 years ago, and he told us he'd be interested in if Florida ever had a position like that. Now down the road, like you said, when his kids grow up and stuff, he probably would take any college job. No, not any, but of course, if there's interest him at the college level, it wouldn't have to be just Florida to get him to make the jump. But he certainly has shown interest that he would like to get to college.
And I know we'd all love to see him here too. Like, man, I love some CI.
For sure. He's a stand-up guy.
Yes, he is.
Yep, he said he used what he learned from Meyer. So I'm just saying, you know.
Well, one thing I like about him, I mean, he's having to do the NIL basically in high school, not NIL, but just like I'm saying like more of like they have people like they have to recruit in high school. So I'm saying, he's used to that already, and dealing with that in the high school and playing in a rural area like in Hawthorne, he's used to all this craziness. So I feel like he'd be ready for a job like Florida.
Hey.
Oh, all right, guys, that would do it. A little over an hour here. Thanks for one last. I'm gonna probably last chat of 2023. Not completely sure yet, but we might do one next week. I'm not sure. I'm not sure yet. We'll see. But if this is the last one, everybody, thank you so much for a great 2023. Gators Breakdown Plus taking off, launching the website this year as well. Paid a lot of dividends. Did a lot of big things here in 2023, but a lot of it started with you guys and these chats and the Discord and all that. And I can't thank you enough for trusting me. And I know money's not easy to come by for many out there, and the way the economy is and stuff. I don't want to get into all of that, but I just thank you guys for trusting me and being part of the Gators Breakdown Plus membership.
Oh yeah, you're welcome, Dave. Hope you and your family have a good Christmas and everybody gets all the presents they want and everything.
Yeah, absolutely. Happy holidays, everybody out there.
Absolutely. Yep. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. Go Gators.
Go Gators.
Go Gators.
Merry Christmas. Go Gators.